Hey everybody, welcome back to Why Not RV. On this week's episode, we're going to install the Cerbo GX by Victron, and I'm going to share with you guys all of my charging profiles and settings for all my Victron products. If you want to learn more and make less mistakes while RVing, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Check us out online at whynotrvusa.com. We also have a great Facebook group that's growing pretty quickly. Just type in Why Not RV under Facebook groups, or you can click the link in the description below. We're also now on Patreon at patreon.com/whynotrv. So the installation of this thing is actually going to be pretty simple. It really is just going to be the 4 mounting screws. We got a little power port down here for positive and negative. And then all I'm connecting to this is my MPPT controller, which is going to be by one of the VE direct cables, my battery monitor, which is another VE direct cable, and my Multiplus, which is just going to be right off the regular network cable. This thing is Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so I should be able to just plug it into power, and it should come up with my Bluetooth on my phone, and I'll be able to connect to Wi-Fi and go from there. So let's get this thing mounted up. Now we got it mounted, let's go ahead and run our positive lead for it. I'm actually going to run the one of the cables over to the battery monitor because the VE direct port is on the back of that. I'm going to run these 2 cables together and go from there. So I've got my VE direct cable just coming right through the same porthole up here that my solar cables came through. So we're going to go ahead and get my Multiplus plugged right into this thing, into the VE can. I'm going to plug that in. Now we're going to get this thing plugged in, and we'll get the other one plugged in and run this over to the solar. Okay, so we have our solar plugged in, we have the VE direct for the the BMV plugged in, and we have the inverter plugged in. Let's get the power plugged in and let's see what this thing does. All right, I've got my positive and negative run through the same hole up top. We're gonna get this kind of down a little bit, run it down. And before I plug it into the servo, I'm gonna go ahead and hook up my leads onto the positive and negative of the battery real quick. Now I have my positive and negative hooked up inside. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing plugged up right here. That's it, it's coming on. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording so that I can get on my phone and access it to the Bluetooth and get it all hooked up, and I'll show you guys that process. All right, inside the Victron app, we're gonna click on the servo and let it connect. Once we get it connected, we gotta pair it. Initially, it's always 6 zeros, so I'll just type those in, bam, get connected to this thing. Now I go ahead and change my pin all the time to what I keep all my Victron products set to, so I went ahead and did that real quick. I cut that out, but not just to show you guys my pin, but change my pin code. Now we're in, and let's see what this thing does. I think we gotta go ahead and first connect it to the network. So we'll go to settings, network, and select our Wi-Fi and get that password put in, get it connected. I think that's pretty much it. Now let's go back and we can click on the VRM online portal and see this thing online. We'll log in. I already have a VRM account because I set it up a while ago, way before I had one of these products. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now we're in the VRM. We can go ahead and request this access for our servo, get it set up. I just do this, hit save. That's really all I need to do is just save this. Yeah, so I'll save it and see what comes up next. All right, let's go back and let's go to the dashboard and see what comes up. And this is it, we are connected. We're online. Let me show you what VRM actually looks like on a full-size computer, and I can show you guys some of the settings in there and we can go from there. Pull up my installation. Now, if you have an actual professional installer do this, they can actually have access to your install if you want them to, so they can diagnose it and stuff like that. But for my purposes, obviously it's just for me. So here it kind of shows you what's going on with the solar charging, where the battery state is, what the AC load is at, what's going on with the shore power, if anything. There's some historical data down here at the bottom, which is awesome. I can, look back at, let's just say the past 2 days. It zooms out and it shows me my battery percentage, which is super cool. It shows you the solar yield per day, the consumption per day, your actual, like what you're using out of the batteries. And this is not even per day, this is per hour going overnight. Super cool, super useful. And it gets real detailed. If we go under advanced, now even in here, you can select different things, like for the battery monitor. I only have on these 4 things. You can select a bunch more, but just to show you guys what I got going on here, I can see the state of charge, I can see the voltage and the current, I can see the temperature, I can go into the solar charge, and I organize all this. I kind of move these things around. You can see, you can kind of just move them around. So as I organize this, now you can see the solar yield, and whenever you're on one of them, you can see that it's pulling it up across all of the widgets. So like, I want to look at this time, I can look over to the right and see the PV voltage and current at the same time while I'm looking at the watts. So just super cool, super neat to be able to go into it. Now, if I go into my device list, this is where I can actually do remote VE configure, and this is where I'm going to show you guys my settings on the Multiplus. So the Multiplus is the only configurable device that's on here. So I can just go ahead and download the current settings. It's gonna download this. We're in VE configure, and this is pulled up to Multiplus. So this is all the settings, and I can go in here and I can change everything I want to. So let me just kind of go over what I have set. Obviously, the basic stuff, I didn't really change any of it. I do not have the battery monitor enabled on it because I have a BMV 712 battery monitor already. Under the grid selection, this is where you can change stuff to like feed into your grid or not. If you're in different countries, you have different rules and different things, you can select that different thing. The transfer switch, so I have this an acceptable range for my comfort. The AC low disconnect at 104, high at 130, and high disconnect is 135. It'll reconnect if it goes below 130. And then the AC low reconnect is at 108. Now this is just secondary because I also have an EMS. So my EMS is gonna do this stuff for me already, but the Multiplus has this stuff in there as well. Now under the inverter, again, now because I don't have a BMS on the batteries, I had to go ahead and set these things up in here. So I have my DC input to shut down below 10 volts because that's what my batteries are rated for. All batteries are different, so look into your batteries. I did not mess with this power assist factor. I didn't touch it. So anyways, shut down at 10 volts, come back on at 11 volts, and I have a pre-alarm at 10.5. So that way I can kind of know what's going on. I have it in search mode down here. So basically when the inverter is doing less than 50 watts, it goes into this search mode. It's very hard to explain, but basically in between, in between the load that I have set here, it reduces the amount of energy that the inverter is using. It's not like it's always putting out 120 volt pure sine signal. So in this search mode, it has I think it's like a 1 second delay in between sines, in between waves. But anyways, this is just what I have set up. Don't do what I do. Just do what you want to do. Figure out your own stuff here. For the charger, obviously I have the charger enabled. I have it set to lithium. I have the charge curve on adaptive. My absorption voltage set to 14.3. I'm trying to go for battery life. I think my batteries can rate 14.6, but I'm wanting the most out of my batteries. And because I have so many of them, I don't really need to be pushing the limit. So I have it set to 14.3, the float voltage to 13.8, and the max current is 120. These batteries can technically take 150 amps at once, but the max that the invert or the Multiplus is rated for is 120. And then the absorption time is set for 2 hours. That's the maximum absorption time. Technically, it's supposed to be 2.5. It can be 2.5 for these batteries, but the Multiplus only goes in 1 hour increments, so I did 2 hours, not 3. And then it'll repeat the absorption every 14 days. So that's just how I set that up. All right, for the virtual switch, I set it up to ignore my AC input because right now I'm at my house, my RV is parked on the side and it's plugged into the wall, but I don't want it using any AC power unless this happens. So it's ignoring the AC input unless we go above 1200 watts for more than 2 minutes in a row, aka when my air conditioner kicks on. After 2 minutes, it'll kick over and go to the AC load of pulling from shore power, not from the batteries. And then it'll go back off once it turns back off. I have it set to 600 watts. I could set it higher, but that's just where I set it. And then the other condition is for the batteries. So if the battery voltage goes below 11 volts for 254 seconds, or when the state of charge, which this pulls the state of charge right from the battery monitor, is below 15%. So again, I could have this set a little bit lower, but there's no need to. So if my solar doesn't maintain what I'm doing in the RV, which right now I'm parked, it's not really using any energy, but if it wasn't, it wouldn't come on until the batteries drop below 15%, and then it would automatically kick on from AC power and charge back up the batteries. Now it will shut back off after my absorption voltage has finished for 5 minutes. That's just how I set it up. So basically it'll go down to 15%, kick on AC power, charge all the way up, and then turn off when it's fully charged. So super cool. I love having that as an option. And then under assistant, there's nothing being used. Now there's other stuff you can use for this virtual switch. You can, you can not use it. You can, let's see, drive multifunction aux relay. Not really sure exactly what that is, but there is a relay on the Multiplus, so it has something to do with that and using the switch for that. You can ignore the AC input versus on, or virtual switch on, ignore blank, or off, do not ignore. Again, you can have it set up different things. But the other cool thing that a lot of people do is the dedicated generator control, where you can have it control a generator and turn on and off a generator. I don't have that set up because I don't have a built-in generator that comes on automatically. But I might mess with that one day down the future. I got some plans in my head, so we'll see what happens with it. But that's pretty much it. That's my Multiplus settings. So let me go back and show you guys a little bit more of the settings for the solar charge controller. Now, I didn't actually make any changes on this just now. I was just showing you. But if I were to have made changes on my VE configure, all I don't do anything up here. I don't hit save. I don't change anything. I just hit the X button. And it would save a new file, which right now there isn't a new file because I didn't change anything. But then I would click on the upload button, and I would basically just select that file that it just saved to. As you can see, I did a lot of changes, and I would just select it and hit open, and it would run it in there and put it right to the Multiplus all remotely. So it's a super cool thing. I mean, it's just awesome what it can do. Now, I also have some alarms set on my VRM basically to email me. So it's going to email me when X, Y, and Z happens. So like I have, below 10 volts, above 1200, just because right now I've been kind of wanting to watch it and pay attention to when the AC kicks on and making sure that it does actually switch over to shore power. So that's why I have that alarm set, but I'm going to probably turn that off later on down the road. Otherwise, every single time the AC kicks on, I'll be getting an email alarm. Again, you can set different things in here, so if I'm using more than 100 amps through the batteries, I want to know about it. I can set, I set the solar charge controller to let me know if it pulls more than 1150 watts because it's only a 1200 watt system. So if somehow, some way it's pulling the full 1200 watts, I kind of want to know about that. And again, it won't notify me until it's been on for 60 seconds. So like if it just peaks at 1200 for half a second and comes back down, it won't notify me. So, and then also for the battery monitor, because I have the battery monitor set up through my battery protect, which is also Bluetooth, but I have the battery protect on here. But this relay on the battery monitor, I want to know if it gets activated from either temperature or voltage, because I have it set for both temperature and voltage for that relay to come on. So I'll show you those settings. Let me go back here, see if there's anything else. Oh, then there's the remote console, which is a neat thing. With the Cerbo GX and all the Victron products, Basically, you can buy a screen and mount it somewhere in the RV. And this is exactly what that screen is. It's this exact thing that would be in your RV. Now I can click on menu, and it's just like me having that touchscreen inside the RV. It goes pretty slow though. So let's say I click on menu, click. I don't ever use this. I personally just, oops, I just gotta hit the X. I just like the dashboard. I like to be able to just see what's going on right here. You know, if I had the little screen, it'd be cool, but I'm not gonna spend like, I think it's like $250 or $300 for a screen. So anyways, so that's pretty much everything with VRM. Now let me go ahead and open up my actual Victron Connect. Now in Victron Connect, the regular app, which is just the same thing that's on your phone, only it's on my computer, I either have the option of the VRM or local. So let me show you what's under VRM. So I click on the Cerbo GX, it'll load up. Then I have the battery monitor and the solar charge controller. Now, my initial thing was, well, why isn't the Multiplus on here? Like the Multiplus is connected to it. Why can't I see the Multiplus and do stuff to the Multiplus right from here? It's just a software thing with Victron. They just haven't done that yet. I'm not particularly big fan of not being able to see it. I like being able to see it right here, but again, I have it right here. I can go to my Multiplus and do stuff from it. So anyways, so on here, I'll click on the battery monitor and I'll show you guys some settings I have set up in here. So obviously I have my battery capacity. I now have 7 batteries, so I have 966 amp hours of batteries. We have the charged voltage, which is 13.8. That's what for my batteries are. Your batteries might be different. The discharge floor, which is, you know, the lowest I want my batteries to go to, I set to 5%. Tail current, I didn't touch because I don't really know what it does. Charge detection time, I set to 3 minutes, just because if it just hits 13.8, I don't want it to know that it's charged, like it has to stay at 13.8. Puchert exponent, I did a crap ton of research on this thing and I still hardly get it. So I'm definitely not gonna try and talk to you guys about it. Look it up, there's a bunch of videos on it. It's crazy. I set it to 1.02 because that's what I think is best for my batteries. Charge efficiency factor is 99% because these are new batteries with, you know, hardly any cycles on them. The current threshold, didn't touch it. Time to go averaging period, I set to 1 minute because I want to know basically as soon as possible what my time to go is on the battery monitor. And then of course, just the state of charge and whatnot. So then we can go on the relay. Like I said, I have the relay set through my battery protect to disconnect the AC side of things, or excuse me, the DC side of things for the house. So it goes and it would disconnect it if it goes below 5%. It'll disconnect if it goes below 10 volts. It'll disconnect it if it goes above 14.7 volts. It'll disconnect it if it goes above 140 degrees or below 32 degrees. So those are all things that I set up so that the battery is protected. Now, under alarm, I have it basically set just a little bit above all those numbers, just to kind of give me a warning before something like that could happen, to see if I can prevent it, see what's going on with it. The display, I didn't really change anything in here because I don't use the display. I just let it be. And the miscellaneous, nothing. I just, you know, have temperature in Fahrenheit. So that's pretty much that for the battery monitor and the solar charge controller. So this is the solar charge controller. You can see what I've made from day one of install all the way to now. I'm obviously recording this today, February 5th. So the other day I wanted to really test my solar. So I drained the batteries quite a bit. You know, I use these days and kind of drain the batteries, just turning on like the TV, leaving it on all night. But I had like 2 TVs on, I had a bunch of lights on, I had the ceiling fans on, you know, the max air vent fans. I had a bunch of stuff on to basically drain the batteries at a slow but steady pace. So anyways, after I did that, I was able to get the solar to really collect as much as it could. So at one point, you know, here on this day, we collected 4.86 kilowatts that day, full sun. I'm going to show you guys some different stuff with the solar and charging and whatnot. But anyway, let me just get right into the settings because this isn't really what we're here for right now. So I have the batteries set to 12 volt batteries. The max that this solar charge controller can do is 85 amps. So that's what I set it for because again, the batteries can take 150. The charger is enabled, of course. The battery preset is user defined, meaning I change the settings. So I set it same exact thing, 14.3 on absorption, 13.8 on float. Low temperature cutoff of 32 degrees, no temperature compensation. Equalization is all off, disabled. We don't want to use any of that kind of crazy stuff. Then load output, I just set to battery life. There's a couple other options. Don't know what they're for, but I selected battery life because I'm trying to get the most out of these batteries. The relay is not being used. I set it to 10 and 10.5 just because that's what I'm doing with everything else, but it's actually not being used. I don't have anything connected to the relay. The street light function, I don't really understand, so I haven't really messed with it. I haven't turned it on. I haven't really looked into it too much. And then there's no display connected, so this doesn't really matter. But that's pretty much it. Let's go back and let me show you under local. Let's see if I'm close enough to the RV to pull up everything. Well, it didn't pull up the battery protect, but it pulled up everything else. So it's the same exact thing as in VRM for the battery monitor and for the solar. Those don't change. That's the exact same stuff. I can click on them and be the exact same thing. But this is my Multiplus I have set up through Bluetooth. Now, because it's connected to the Cerbo and it's all online, all of my options go on there. So this normally would be a lot more that I can do and see. I can usually see how much AC out, it'd tell me it's using 20 watts, but because it's connected and it's showing it here, it can't do it here as well. Now I can change my current limit on here. I can see the voltage, I can see the temperature, I can see the state of it. I can go in and I can change the state of it from on, charger only, inverter, and off. And I can set up my VE smart networking, which I already have set up for all my smart networking devices. But that's really it. I can't really mess or change anything else. If I didn't have the Cerbo hooked up, I can change things from here. But again, I do have the Cerbo hooked up, so I can't do anything. So that's pretty much it. The battery monitor, or excuse me, the battery protect, which isn't showing up on here. I got the RV right outside this window. I'm surprised it's not showing up. But anyways, I can kind of show you what it would look like. We can go under a demo version, Smart Battery Protect. I have this one hooked up. So this is really all it shows. It just shows you the voltage, the load output. I can go into the settings and change things in here. Now what I have in here is set the exact same way as everything else. It's 12 volt batteries. I have this set to shut down at 10 volts, just like I do the Multiplus, and come back on at 11. And that's pretty much it. I have this set to lithium. That's already on lithium when you select it. And again, I just changed the voltages on mine, and that was really it. That's all I did. So there's not really much to that. I just wanted to show you guys what some different solar stuff looks like. So on this really cloudy day, you can really see on the chart there on the right how when the sun peeks through, it jumps up in watts, and when it goes behind the clouds, it goes back down. So that's kind of what it looks like on a cloudy day. Now on a perfectly sunny day, you can see that just over time, this is over like an hour and a half, you can see that the curve just steadily keeps going up, 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 up as the sun gets higher in the sky. And all those little drop-offs, I blame birds. I think birds just kind of flew over, created a quick shadow, and cut it back out. That's it for this week's video. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for next week because we're going to talk about how much solar do you need.